Hey everybody, before we get started, I just want to remind you this episode is brought to you by our patrons like IGO Comics, Claw, Jeremy Vasquez, Kylie Denton, Nestor Flores, Sodasan0424, and VideoGamer75. If you like what we do and want to see us do more, consider supporting us on Patreon. You can get access to episodes early and lots of other goodies, and it will help us out. Thanks for your support, everybody. Hey everybody, welcome back to Let's Talk FGO Wanted, the show where we let you know if you want to roll a 5-star. Usually they are limited, but sometimes they are story locks, and also permanent if we think we can make a cool video. No, it's limited today. Summer is still ongoing, which means there's a second part banner, which means there's a second 5-star, which is what we're here to talk about, in case you couldn't tell from the thumbnail and the title and stuff. And we will be talking about the 5-star writer, Artoria Pendragon, Alter, Summer, sometimes called Maid Alter. We'll talk about that later, too. So, normally this is the part of the intro where I tell you that Wanted is a show where we talk about 5 stars, blah, 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 and we divide it into 4 parts, usually, where we talk about their real life, or possibly fictional history. We talk about their in-game lore with a capital L, and we talk about their mechanics, and we talk about their rarity. Not their star rarity, but how frequently their rate-ups are, because that's a big deal when you want to know when you want to roll. However, I believe I said this last time with Summer Nero, and probably said it about a year ago with Summer Artoria, the regular version. Artoria the White. So, with Summers in particular, there's a lack of seriousness to a lot of this. There's a lot of gags and self-references and stuff. And also, with alters who are deliberately constructed as kind of like what-ifs or knockoffs or alternates, that gets a little bit sketchy, okay? So don't expect any serious detail. One, as evidenced from the previous 2, I think, Artoria-based ones. Actually, technically, 3, because I'm pretty sure I did one for Proto-Arthur in there, too. So there's a lot of King Arthurs rolling around. Hopefully you should know who that is and understand the basis of the myth. You know, the Chosen King, the once and future king, sword out of a stone, King of England, super perfect, really awesome, except human stuff got in the way, blah, blah, blah. Right? Most people are probably familiar with a lot of pop cultural concepts, especially if you're familiar with Fate, because that's covered a lot. So we're not going to go into too much detail. And then, of course, the fact that this is Alter does mean that there's some decent amount of lore here to talk about. So that we can actually discuss a little bit. So Saber Alter first appears in the Fate Stay Night original visual novel, in the Heaven's Feel route, now being illustrated lovingly in some great movies by Ufotable that I haven't watched yet. What? I don't get out a lot, guys. And Blu-rays are expensive. Anyway, this basically happens where Saber is in kind of a corrupted, altered state, hence Alter. We actually have a show on Let's Talk FGO where we talk about alters. It's in the Teach Me Omega Sensei playlist somewhere. But Alter is not necessarily the evil version, but is definitely the altered by some external source version. So she's been altered by the Grail Mud to be super tyrannical and stuff. She's lawful evil instead of lawful good kind of thing. You also meet Saber Alter in the prologue. She's the big bad boss of the Fuyuki prologue chapter of FGO, so you should be pretty familiar with her. And so you kind of get your ups and downs there. You know, she was Santa that one year, which was kind of cool. She's very popular. So that's kind of her basis in the Fate universe for Saber Alter, Artoria Alter. The only other thing I think you need to know lore-wise is that there was a gag series, Carnival of Phantasm, had lots of skits. Some of it was Fate, some of it was other stuff. But one of the things there was basically Saber got a job at a maid cafe. And then in this situation, she was required by the situation to pull off her idiot hair, which converts her into Saber Alter. That's the secret. You should always pay attention. One of them has the idiot hair and one of them doesn't. So she pops it off like she pops off the dragon scale. She turns to her alter form while dressed as a maid and bosses some people around, and Gilgamesh throws some money at her. It's a pretty famous gag. I think at this point it gets referenced a lot. And it's referenced in her second ascension. So yeah, basically what you get is Writer Alter is the version of her that is summer jokes, but also does a lot of references to earlier gags and stuff, and kind of puts this comedically serious interplay in there. And there's not too much else to discuss with her character, you know. For story stuff, obviously, Saber Alter also appears on your side in the Shinjuku EOR, if you haven't done that yet, so that's pretty fun to see here. You don't see it, but she does talk about her motorcycle, which she does use in her Noble Phantasm in this there. So that's kind of where that element comes back. And also, obviously, she's a headliner in the summer event ongoing, where she's part of Team Tyrannical Shooting Star with Summer Nero. But with all that out of the way, and most of the stuff you should know about there, you should know personality-wise whether or not you're rolling on this. Let's talk about them, our mechanics. So, core stat-wise, you can see, obviously, she's got the weight towards HP. That's pretty typical with sabers. And by sabers, I mean saber! Most Artoria variants do have that weighting. This does unfortunately mean that for 5 stars, she does have some of the lowest attack. Not the lowest, but she's in a second place, a scant 500 points above Maeve, who is the lowest. Conversely, though, she has the highest HP, even higher than Maeve, by quite a bit, so she's very tanky in that regard. So, very robust HP. And this is one of those situations where she's got a couple of modifiers on her core stats, you know, that like she gets some buffs in there to actually do some more damage than you think. Pretty typical middle-of-the-road NP charge. She's got quicc, arts buster, with moderate hit counts on her arts and quick cards and a pretty high extra, so that NP charge is pretty decent. She's got your fairly normal star weight for riders, which is the tippy-toppest, and nice middle-of-the-road star gen. Actually, I don't know. I should double-check. That might be a little bit low. But I think, in my mind, riders are middle-of-the-road star generators. So, pretty straightforward. She's got a fairly balanced kit with a little bit of, like I said, that HP weight. Her Noble Phantasm is a single-target quick, which does mean that she does get the most mileage out of her lower attack, because that has the highest, like, core attack multiplier, quick. Because, you know, quick does inherently the least damage, so it gets the biggest multipliers. Significant damage to the enemy does pretty typical for Artoria's type NPs also, Saberface NPs, in that she gets a 10% self-refund. Not the biggest, but not the least. And also, based on overcharge, for 3 turns, it'll lower the enemy's crit chance. 30%, not awful. It is a quick card that has 6 hits. She can chain it, you know, do an NPQQ chain. So it's a pretty decent starter. There are obviously going to be harder hitters by default, but it's not inherently flawed in any way. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are some characters who you're kind of like, ooh, your NP maybe doesn't mesh with your core stats or whatever, and you need skills to compensate often in that case, or you need external support. This is pretty straightforward. She does the hits, does the damage, she self-refunds a little bit, and she reduces their critical chance, which is pretty typical for these types of NPs. So I mentioned that her attack isn't as low as you think it is, as it turns out, kind of thing. Let's talk about her skills now. First skill, Summer Sweeper, increases her attack for 3 turns by 20 to 30%, a pretty decent buff. It also increases all allies' quick card effectiveness for 3 turns, 10 to 20%. So this gives her, obviously, a pretty basic, comprehensive self buff. Attack up is one of the best damage buffs, other than, like, raw damage plus, because it affects everything. You know, it's all card types, all NP, all that stuff. Fairly effective. 30% isn't the highest, but it's nothing to sneeze at. You know, it's better than a lot of vanilla charismas, only it's only focused on her. But she has a charisma type effect for quick, which is pretty interesting and useful. It gives her a little bit of a role as quick support. Like, if you're putting her on a quick-based team, maybe you need, like, a sweeper. Like, say, like, Medusa's a good low-rarity, quick AoE burster, because she can do a lot of self-charge and NP gain stuff now. And also, her stuns are very useful. So you could be like, ooh, your quick gets a little bit better. Or if you're trying to, like, beat multiple bosses, you know, you want to have multiple runs. You have somebody like a Kintoki in there, you can just, you know, keep your quick buffs overlapping. It can be very effective, and it means that she's not just a solo shooter, but she still gets her solo-type buffs. Second skill is Coaching. This reduces an ally's skill cooldowns for 1 turn, which is very useful. That's pretty rare that effect comes up. It increases, it doesn't say for allies, so I'm assuming that increases her critical star drop rate for 3 turns, 30 to 50%. That's pretty good. She's got, you know, decent quick cards and that quick NP with those hit counts. So that's a pretty good one. But it comes at the cost of losing 1,000 HP. Well, hey, guess what? You have loads of HP. You probably have more HP than you need. All right, so while she doesn't necessarily have any defensive abilities to, like, compensate that, healing and recovery buffs aren't necessarily unheard of. Though I don't know if we necessarily have any quick-based healers. Most of those are arts-focused, but that's a discussion for a different time. Anyway, with her very large HP count, it's not necessarily a huge loss to eat 1,000 HP to get a 50% a times 1.5 for 3 turns, and also an ally gets their skills reduced. I think the only downside to this is that this obviously, because this has a pretty unique and powerful effect, the cooldown's longer. You know what cooldown isn't longer? Reloading, C. This increases your quick card effectiveness 1 time over 3 turns, and at its minimum, its lowest, it has a 3-turn cooldown, which is bananas. Skills just don't get that short of a cooldown. So it's a 20 to 30% buff. Now, it's only 1 time, right? But it lasts 3 turns, so if you don't pull her quick cards or you don't use them because the time isn't right, you don't lose the buff for 3 turns. And hey, then, guess what? If you've got it at level 10, it's back up immediately. The instant it fades, you can refresh it. So you can basically always have a 30% quick steroid. Oh, hey, and you have a skill which increases all teammates, so that's really a 50% quick steroid most of the time, which is great. Like I said, remember how I said that her attack is bigger than you think it is? Yeah, with a 30% attack up and an up to 50% quick effectiveness up, that NP is going to hit a lot harder than you'd think with her attack. So that's pretty potent. And like I said, the low cooldown time on this is amazing. Passive skills, we're still doing the compact format. Nobody really complained, so here it is. She's got magic resistance B, pretty good. Some sabers and riders have better, but it's still pretty decent. She only has riding B, but she has some arts cards too, so it's not terrible. But it will make her quicks punch a little harder. What she does have though is independent action EX, which is really good because here's the thing. Notice how I didn't talk about crit strength or like stars or anything in there. She's a rider. She doesn't need any of that shit. Okay, her star weight is through the roof. She's great at crits, and she has EX, independent action. That's, what is it, like 12% strength on crit ups? It's very high, okay? So her raw crit strength is up. She can boost her own star gen, and she's quick focused. This means that she will be generating quite a few stars for her to use in follow-up turns to slap some people. If theoretically, like, you were in a vacuum, you could probably alternate. You could go like, okay, I'm gonna pop an all-quick turn, right? NPQQ. With all my quick steroids and everything, I'm going to generate lots of stars. Next turn, I get all the stars. AAB, I'm going to do arts crits, and I'm going to do my frickin' NP again. She's probably not got quite high enough NP charge to, do, back-to-back loops, but she can probably fire off that NP pretty fast, as one might expect from having that reloading ability. And her crits will hurt. For CEs, it probably depends on what the rest of your setup is, but obviously... anything that boosts quick or crits is not bad. She doesn't have any kind of pierce or anything, so is it Decapitating Bunny that's quick up and pierce invul? I think it is. If you've got that one, that's pretty good. CEs like that are pretty good. Give yourself sure hit or pierce invincible, in addition to quick strength up. Obviously, raw attack ups are fine. She doesn't really have any batteries, so stuff like Golden Sumo or Halloween Princess is not necessarily the best. In some cases, you want to get a starter, but you may not want to go that route. She does, after all, have a single target, so it's not like you necessarily need to turn 1, fire her up, and shoot off. I would say lean into the quick and the criticals for the most part. You probably don't need to worry about star absorption unless you're doing something weird, right? For support, obviously, anybody who gives quick buffs is good. Lil Alexander, stuff like that. Anything to make her quick cards hit sharper. Other than her passive skill, she doesn't really have any critical strength increasers, so those obviously are good if you can increase her crit strength on her own. If you did want to do a turn 1 or a 1-turn charge, give her something like Sumo, everybody's favorite waiver, the universal support staff, will work really well with her with his adding damage, either damage plus or damage cut, and then that, quick buff on his hits. Anything like that will work. Friendly NP generators can probably push her over the edge. I haven't heard a lot about her in complement with Scotty. I know some people prefer other servants, but she does have a decent hit counts. She does generate NP fairly well on her own, and she would like those crits on quick. So Scotty should also be pretty good at helping her do better in the future. And yeah, that's basically the mechanics. I feel like some people kind of go back and forth on how good she is. I think with her buff standalone, she can be pretty decent. With a good support setup, she can be really good. You're going to get some really hard hits out of this if you can proc some additional buffs. The only thing that I think is her weakness is, as I discussed before, she doesn't really have any defensive abilities on her own. She doesn't heal, she doesn't evade or tank, she doesn't, do anything. So, as always, tuck in with other people. Defensive stuff. That's, like I said, that's why Waver's a good support option right now. I know he's got an Arts NP, but she has 2 Arts cards, even if she's not necessarily buffing them, so that's not bad. And that kind of stalling out and adding stuff like damage cut, damage plus, critical up will really help her out. So let's talk about how frequent those raid ups are. Guess what? She's Summer, so there's not a lot of them. Other than there's a couple of cases where you can get her in limited GSSR pools, like for instance, right now. Anniversary just rolled around. We'll have more news about that in Let's Take FGO later this week. But there's a split pool, which is Cavalry and Alter Egos limited only, so you get a decent spread in there. But mostly it's just, hey, the second part of Dead Heat Summer Race. I won't spoil the name yet. You'll find out in a few days. Or tonight, whenever this goes live exactly. It's not shot yet, so the scheduling isn't locked in. But you'll find out soon about the name, assuming they don't, go ahead and announce it already by the time this goes public. But basically that banner and the rerun version of that banner is the only time she has a raid up so far. Now, we've seen with Summer 1 servants, they're not averse, and even technically Summer 2, because Summer Nobu, got squeaked in on the All Nobunaga's Attack banner. But they're not averse to bringing these guys back in rando banners now. That's a lot of weight. You're minimum waiting 2 years because it hasn't happened yet. And you're probably waiting 2 years and a few months because it's not likely to come up other than that GSSR lucky bag right now. So, if you want her, now or the rerun is a good time. Though, as many people know from my experiences in Let's Take FGO, I don't always have the best luck rolling the servants I described to you. So, Summer doesn't seem to like me. I wonder why. Maybe it's because I hate summer so much. I'm kidding. I don't actually hate the summer events. But I live in Florida, so summer is a brutal, brutal time. Alright, I think that's everything. That hopefully covers all the areas you want us to cover. We hit all the main 4 points anyway. Check her out if you're interested in maid jokes or just how good Alter looks with her inflatable Excalibur and hopefully toy gun and that popsicle. The popsicle thing's very impressive, guys. I don't know if I've said that before. But yeah, I'll leave you with that. So, hey, we're done with the episode. If you're watching this on YouTube, which you are, go ahead and give this a like. If you have any comments, leave them in the comments section down below. The comments are always full of people's successes, failures, appreciating the catalyst. Love those comments. Give them to us. You can also jump in our Discord. That link is in the description, along with a link to our store if you want to buy some merch. I know. Rider Alter's pretty tactical, You could get a special Waifus and Tactics shirt. And also, if you are new here and haven't already, please subscribe to our channel so you can get the latest videos. We do Wanteds pretty regularly when there's new servants on the banner. Check out our show, Let's Talk FGO and Proper, where we talk about all sorts of stuff. And even if you were already subscribed, I should say, consider hitting that bell for notifications so you always know when we post a new video, because sometimes I do weird shit like I post videos at midnight in order to have them up before the maintenance ends. Probably not this one, but I did that in the past. So it's a good thing to keep an eye on. And like it says at the front of the show, consider supporting us on Patreon. You can get access to this episode early. You can get access to live shows, lots of other goodies, and it really helps directly support the show. Alright, that's everything. I don't know, my throat's a little dry. I think I'm gonna go get a popsicle. Throw it on the floor. Anyway, I will see you guys in the next video, whenever that is. Ciao, everybody.